we're going to start in 1 Kings chapter 19. We talked about Elijah and his confrontation with Baal worshipers on the mountain, and how basically there's 450 of them now dead. That's an easy way to put it. So, God was real, Baal was not. You'd think people would stop worshiping Baal. You'd think. Anyway, here we are at chapter 19. We've talked about Ahab. Now Ahab, it's just a good story, I guess. So verse 1, it says, "And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and with all how he had slain all the prophets with the sword." You can say that Jezebel was one of Baal's biggest cheerleaders. Okay, so just putting that out there. Then verse 2, it says, "Then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Elijah, saying, So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. And when he saw that, he arose and went for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongeth to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree, and he requested for himself that he might die, and said, It is enough now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers." I'm going to stop right there because I want to get into this a little bit. I don't know what kind of I know that there's a reason why you don't really call your child Jezebel. There's one reason right there. But it says something whenever the great Elijah, basically not making fun of him, he kind of tucks tail and runs. Whether that be like, I don't want to mess with that lady, or really what's going on in his life is something that we've seen not only with Elijah, we've seen it with David. There's some other people in the Bible that we've seen it with as well. He gets into a little bit of woe is me, but also into a bout of depression. What he's doing is clear signs that we see today of what people view as depression. For what he's doing, he runs away from anything that he would normally go towards. That shouldn't really affect him, but there comes a point, even though you may be one of the strongest people in the world, you still can be affected by things that people say and things that can affect you mentally and things like that. So sometimes you can say that we need a person may need a retreat, may need a mental break of some things, from certain things and certain people, you may say. But I want to draw your attention there that in verse 4 he says, "But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree, and he requested for himself that he might die." In other words, he says, "Lord, I've had enough. There's nothing more. I am done. I am done doing the work. I am tired of it. I'm tired of people being against me. Let me die." And that's what he was ready for. He was ready to just put everything away and go. Now, there are people that can be at that point today, and they're ready to go, but yet when it's not your time, it's not your time. And the Lord will, I'll just show you, we'll just read what the Lord did for Elijah. So, verse 5, For as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, then an angel touched him and said unto him, Arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was a cake baken on the coals, and cruse of water at his head, and he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. Another sign of true depression. What a person with depression would normally do is get up, eat, go back down, sleep. That's all they wanted to do was sleep, sleep, sleep. Eat maybe a little bit, and sleep. That's pure signs of that. Okay, verse 7. And the angel of the Lord came again the second time and touched him and said, Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. Now, during this time, Elijah did not understand, because Elijah was so focused on himself about what he didn't know what the Lord was actually preparing him to do. But the Lord said, Elijah, you're going to have to get over yourself, so I'm going to provide everything that you need, and I'm basically going to get you prepared to basically kick you in the butt. So, excuse me for saying that. That's just how it went. So anyway, verse 8. And he arose and did eat and drink, and went into the strength that meat, and went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights unto Horeb, the mount of God. I don't know if you've ever ate so much good, nutritious food that you went 40 days without eating anymore. But that had to be one of a meal. That had to be a great meal, just saying. But we see again, the Lord said, Elijah, it's not time for that yet. You need to get over yourself. And the Lord didn't just basically say, get up and go. He said, Elijah, I'll give you some time to rest. As humans, He instilled in us that we need rest. We need some mental breaks. And there is nothing wrong with having some breaks and times to set to the side for yourself. But if you're just doing it for yourself to focus on other things that would distract you away from what you really need to be doing, then maybe you need to kind of question some things a little bit. But we need to use the example that Elijah did. Elijah took that time, focused on him, and the Lord said, I want you to focus on me and me. So that's what's going on. So in verse 9 it says, And he came thither unto a cave and lodged there, and behold, the word of the Lord came to him, and he said unto him, What doest thou here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts, for the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword, and I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. Now, if I can, let's break this down a little bit. Elijah was so focused on himself, still at the point, but the Lord's finally taking some time and saying, Elijah, what exactly is going on in your mind? Let's get this taken care of. There's nothing wrong with that. But yet he's so tied up in himself, and there comes a point whenever you're trying to do everything that you can for the Lord, and when you see no one else wanting to do anything for the Lord for the same purpose that you are out there doing all the legwork, doing a lot of the legwork, it comes to a point where you just get tired and say, I'm tired of seeing no one else do anything. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it gets tiresome just saying, I've done so much work, why is no one else doing anything to help me? And basically he says, Lord, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I can see, I am the only one left. Lord, I don't know how things are going to get any better when I'm the only one here. But the Lord says in verse 11, and he said, Go forth and stand upon the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains, and brake in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. And it was so, when Elijah heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle, and went out and stood in the entering in of the cave. And behold, there came a voice unto him, saying, What doest thou here, Elijah? And he says, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of the host, because the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword, and I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. Let me catch up a little bit here on something. A lot of times when we want God to do something, we are looking for Him to do something in very big and mighty ways. But yet what Elijah saw, God was not in any of the big and mighty things. I mean, Elijah saw God do big and mighty things. But yet sometimes we got to realize God is not always doing things that you're going to see out in the open. There's things that He's doing that's kind of behind the scenes. But yet he hears the Lord. He sees that the Lord's wanting to talk to him. And again, we see a normal reaction. He covers his face and says it again, verse 15, and the Lord said unto him, Go, return on thy way to the wilderness of Damascus. And when thou comest, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. And Jehu, the son of Nimshi, shalt thou anoint to be king over Israel. And Elisha the son Shaphat of Abel-Meholah shalt thou anoint to be prophet in thy room. And it shall come to pass that him that escapeth the sword of Hazael shall Jehu slay, and him that escapeth from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha slay. Yet I have left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which I have bowed unto Baal, which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which hath not kissed him. What happened right there is the Lord said, Elijah, you need to listen up. You need to understand that just because you don't see people coming to me and turning away from Baal, just because all the things that you've been doing, you don't see, just because of all of that, just because you see the big things, and he gave him the example of a still small voice and giving him the example to say, listen, I'm doing things where you don't even know that's going on. Elijah, you're not the only one left. Elijah, I have 7,000 others that have not turned to Baal, that are willing to do the work that needs to be done. So Elijah, I need you to go and basically give them a kickstart as well. And I need you to go out and I need you to get them going as well. And he says, not only that, but I'm also going to give you Elisha, one that's going to follow you right along the way. And if you know the story with Elijah and Elisha, you know very well what happens along with that. But we see that the Lord is using Elijah, opening his eyes up. Verse 19 says, So he departed thence and found Elisha the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12th. And Elijah passed by him and cast his mantle upon him. In other words, saying, you need to come with me. Something very similar to that happens whenever the Lord passes by the disciples that were fishing, basically saying, you need to follow me. You need to follow me. You notice he was just minding his own business. Verse 20 says, And he left the oxen and ran after Elijah and said, Let me, I pray thee, kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow thee. And he said unto him, Go back again, and for what have I done to thee? And he returned back from him, and took the yoke of oxen, and slew them, and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen, and gave unto the people. They did eat. Then he arose and went after Elijah, and ministered unto him. Elijah found a man named Elisha, and called him to follow him. As we see there, he was plowing with 12 oxen, cooked them, did what needed to be done. He also took the wood, basically saying, I'm going to turn everything in, and I'm going to follow Elijah, and this is what is going to happen in my life. In other words, he's being called. So again, a few things before we go into the next chapter that I want to go to. The encounter that Elijah has with God on the mountain. God doesn't always work through the noticeable manifestations of power. It's good. We can really see God working whenever He's bringing down fire. Everyone can see that. But yet, you never know where God is actually doing in the background and in other people's lives. We still see that today. But yet, what Elijah didn't know, because he was so focused on himself, he didn't know that God was still doing work in 7,000 other people's lives as well, and they were ready to do the work. So, there's more there, but if you follow along with our paper, we kind of just leave the story of Elijah But I can't leave the story of Elijah without going to 2 Kings chapter 1. We're going to go there. So 2 Kings chapter 1. We are King Ahab. Oh, by the way, another thing about Ahab, and whenever Elijah was talking to the Lord, there was only one person that was after Elijah, and that was Jezebel. Okay? He was making it bigger than what it really should have been. So, now we're into Ahijah. Yeah, anyway, him. Now, verse 1 of 2 Kings chapter 1, it says, Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab, and Ahijah fell down through the lattice in his upper chamber that was in Samaria, and was sick. And he sent messengers and said unto them, Go inquire of Beelzebub, and the god of Ekron, whether I shall recover of the disease. And the angel of the Lord said to Elijah the Tishbite, Arise, go up to meet the messengers of the king of Samaria, and say unto them, Is it not because that it is not a god in Israel, that ye go to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Now therefore thus saith the Lord, Thou shalt not come down from that bed on which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. And Elijah departed. Some of those men didn't really realize who they actually encountered. They will very soon. But here comes a man out of nowhere, tells them, you need to stop, turn back around, and you need to realize that the reason why you're going to this man is because you are not worshiping the God of Israel like you should be. Well, guess what? Verse 4, Now therefore, verse 5, And when the messengers turned back unto him, he said unto them, Why are ye now turned back? In other words, going back to the king. And they said unto him, There came a man to meet us, and said unto us, Go turn again unto the king that sent you, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Is it not because there is not a God in Israel, that thou sendest to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Therefore thou shalt not come down from that bed on which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. And he said unto them, What manner of man was he which came up to meet you, and told you these words? And they answered him, He was an hairy man, and girt with a girdle of leather about his loins, and he said, It is Elijah the Tishbite. He had to be some man. He's a hairy man. Elijah had to be hairy, because that's basically the only definition that they gave. And the king says, Oh, that's Elijah. Great. You know the stories have passed down. There was this man named Elijah that got all these 450 servants up there on the mountain, and they tried to worship Baal, and all he did was speak a few words, and fire came down, and all that was burned up, and then he went and killed them. That's a man. Not only is that, but he's hairy. Just saying. Now, going on to the next parts, why I like Elijah. Anyway, verse 9. And the king sent unto him a captain of 50 with his 50, and he went up to him, and behold, he sat on the top of an hill. And he spake unto him, Thou man of God, the king had said, Come down. They were down here, he was up there. I don't think that they really wanted to go up to talk to him. They probably had a little bit of terrifying answer there. But verse 10, Elijah answered and said to the captain of 50, If I be a man of God, then let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And there came down fire from heaven and consumed him and his 50. Boom. What a man. You know he couldn't be too close to the fires because he had a lot of hair. Anyway, verse 11. Again also he sent unto him another captain of 50 with his 50, And he answered and said unto him, O man of God, thus hath the king said, come down quickly, please. And Elijah answered and said unto them, If I be a man of God, let fire come down from heaven and consume thee in thy 50. And the fire of God came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50. 100 men down. I know I really like the fire coming down and Elijah doing it, but yet what's really happening is God is trying to get their attention saying, you are not worshiping me. You are worshiping other gods. So while you're at it, let me just take care of a few things. Verse 13, and he sent again a captain of the third 50 and his 50, and the third captain of 50 went up and came and fell on his knees before Elijah and besought him and said unto him, O man of God, I pray thee, let my life and the life of these 50 thy servants be precious in thy sight, please. Behold, there came fire down from heaven and burnt up the two captains of the former 50s with their 50s, therefore let my life now be precious in thy sight. And the angel of the Lord said unto Elijah, Go down with him, be not afraid of him. And he arose and went down with him unto the king. That third 50 group, they were shaken. I don't know about you, I would be. And I don't think they were really, putting him in handcuffs or anything like that either. They were just saying, thank you, let's just follow. Verse 16, and he said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, For as much as thou hast sent messengers to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, is it not because there is no God in Israel to inquire of his word? Therefore thou shalt not come down off that bed on which thou art gone up, but thou shalt surely die. There is no God in Israel. You have taken him out. You have pushed him to the side. He is no longer there. The worship is not there. And how dare you do what you are doing? If you were worshiping God, you wouldn't have to worry about other little g gods, but yet you decide to follow yourself. Verse 17, So he died according to the word which Elijah had spoken. If there would be an Elijah, I know he's half asleep right now, but if there had to be an Elijah here, Brother Terry, no, I'm just kidding around with you. Brother Terry, you don't mess around, huh? Yeah, he'd have to have more hair, but Brother Terry, you want something, the Lord, if you want to have a good parking spot, have Brother Terry come with you. Brother Terry, all he has to do is say, Lord, give us a parking spot, we need one, and it opens up. I don't know, he just makes one, it just happens. I guess that's the new kind of fire. Anyway, but the Lord says there, verse 17, So he died according to the word of Elijah had spoken. Again, Elijah, whatever Elijah said, he said, it's not going to rain until I say so. It didn't rain until he said so. He said, you're going to die this way, and he dies. And Jehoram reigned in his stead in the second year of Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, because he had no son. And the rest of the acts of Ahijah, which he did, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the king of Israel? I like the story of that, but that's God trying to get people's attention. That's what Elijah's one of his biggest purposes, reasons for being there, is trying to get people to turn back to God. Turn back to God. For us, it can be, for me, it's entertaining, but yet really, God had to go to great lengths to try to get people's attention. But so we see that it's very displeasing to God when we give the devotion that belongs to Him to someone else or something else. God does not like it when you take your time that should be His and give it to someone else or something else. If God was that angry then, what is it more now after He's given you much more to see than what you really need? And another thing you need to remember along with that, God is still the same back then as He was. He's still the same today as He was back then. That thought is still there. Don't worship other gods. Don't take your time that should be God's and put it into other people's other things. God's a jealous God, and He's a rightful jealous God. And we also see there, though, that God is very serious about putting our trust in Him and nowhere else. So where do you put your trust? Hopefully you're putting your trust in God and in nothing else. Elijah was definitely serious. So, may we be serious about putting our worship in God and God alone. Let's all stand and we will...